Chapter 2-3 Supercomputer and Life. Let us start this section with a few important quotes. Richard Dawkins: "The machine code of the genes is uncannily computer-like. Apart from differences in jargon, the pages of a molecular biology journal might be interchanged with those of a computer engineering journal." From River Out of Eden. Bill Gates: "DNA is like a computer program, but far, far more advanced than any software ever created." From The Road Ahead. James Shapiro: "Blood clotting system resembles a powerful real-time distributed computing system. Many biochemical systems within the cell resemble the wiring diagram for an electronic circuit." From Here We Go. Last year, I was sitting at the local restaurant with friends from Microsoft and talking about life in general. My interlocutors were not ordinary programmers, but scientists working on creating a fundamentally new generation of computers, the highest level experts' money can buy. The conversation went to supercomputers and revealed two unusual things. First, they told me that the total capacity of all supercomputers created by man are slightly lower than the capacity of a single human brain. In order to evaluate the importance of this shocking message, let us recall what is a supercomputer. It is a computer with much higher level of computing performance compared to a general-purpose computer. The performance of a supercomputer is measured in floating point operations per second, flops. A manual calculator must have at least 10 flops. A good laptop can have a capacity of 6 gigaflops, which is about 100 million times greater than a conventional calculator. As of 2017, there are supercomputers which can perform up to nearly 100 quadrillion of flops, measured in petaflops. It outperforms my laptop many million times. Now imagine that you, a listener, are an ordinary laptop and are able to perform various functions: compute, process, save photos and movies, and play them back. And you do all these tasks very, very quickly and effectively. And then you compare yourself to a something which can do all of the above 100 million times better. Are you not going to treat this something with the highest esteem and designate it in your saved text with a capital letter, supercomputer? But speed is not the only quality of the computer system. It is also characterized by memory storage, which is measured by bits. A bit is the simplest unit of memory. Yes or no, 1 or 0, on, off. In physical implementation, a bit is a transistor having two states. In the on, conductive state, it saves the information yes. And in the off, non-conductive state, it stores the information no. And that is all the transistors do. In order to switch the transistor from one state to another, it is necessary to apply a short electrical pulse to the transistor's gate. After that, the transistor will remain in this position for a very long time, sometimes for several years. 8 bits constitute 1 byte. Since each bit can take any state, the total number of combinations of 1 byte is equal to 256, which equals 2 to the 8th. Virtually all information created by mankind to the date is stored in data centers. As of 2016, the total memory of all data centers was estimated at 1 yottabyte, or 10 to the 24th bytes. This is a colossal number, which is difficult to imagine. But before moving on, let us stop and think about it. 1-bit transistor can store only 2 digits of information, and 8 bits, for some reason, are capable to store not 2 times 8 to equal 16, but 2 to the 8th to equal 256, that is 16 times greater. This exponential growth gives us a huge benefit in the amount of accumulated memory. And what about 10 to the 24th bytes? Such a volume of information is not given for free. Electrical current flows through each transistor and heats it. Hence, each transistor and computer consumes certain power, measured in watts, kilowatts, and megawatts. Over time, this power is converted into energy generated by power plants, kilowatt hours and megawatt hours. The amount of energy required by the data centers has to be considered at the national level. How many megawatts consumes a large data center? And there are many of them on the Earth. Let us try to imagine the significance of this magnitude. In the 3-hour drive from my house, there is a small town, Quincy. This town specializes in vegetable production and processing. There are large hangars here and there where apples and potatoes are stored. This area boasts with cheap electricity since the mighty Columbia River flows alongside. On this river, numerous hydroelectric power stations are erected. For this reason, computer giants, Microsoft, Yahoo, Dell, Vantage, Intuit, and others, decided to keep their data centers in the town of Quincy. These data centers are found on hundreds of acres, pushing aside potato and alfalfa fields and consuming a huge amount of energy. just the Microsoft data center alone requires 48 megawatts. This is enough to supply 40,000 homes. To cool billions of transistors, Microsoft's data center consumes 8 million gallons of water per month. It would seem that everything is fine. The energy is cheap, a small potato town makes several million from new tenants. But the former mayor of Quincy, Mrs. Patty Martin, raised the alarm and intended to sue the computer giants. She tried to prove that the heat released by data centers leads to a change in the microclimate in the town. All U.S. data centers consumed about 70 billion kilowatt hours in 2014. That is 2% of the country's total electricity produced. The capability of one human brain, as already mentioned, is approximately equal to that of all supercomputers on the Earth. In contrast, a brain consumes only 20 watts, 5 times lower than a 100-watt incandescent bulb. Of course, the brain does not store as much information as the data center, but it has consciousness and understands humor, while all the computers of the world have not yet. And what about the power of the brains of all mankind, given that there are 7 billion of us? Progress in the field of computer technology is undeniable, and it moves much more rapidly than the natural biological evolution. We can imagine that in the near future, our engineers will create a super-duper computer that can perform complex functions equal or even surpassing living beings. The English mathematician Alan Turing proposed a test for determining the cognitive ability of a computer. A human evaluator would judge natural language conversations between a human and a machine designed to generate human-like responses. That is, we are talking on the artificial intelligence, AI. Ray Kurzweil, one of the directors of Google, estimated that in the next 32 years, what a prediction accuracy, not only the brain of one person, but all our brains can be loaded into the computer's world network. Person can be replaced by a computer, which means that the need for our bodies will fall away and we will become immortal. Not all of us, of course, only selected ones who managed to make it to the second half of the 21st century. This is how it is projected to happen. In the early 2000s, computers reached the brain of an insect. In 2015 to 17, the brain of one mouse. Somewhere in the 2040s, they will equal a human, and in 2060, the humanity as a whole. So, the Turing test will be successfully passed, and we will not be able to tell who we are talking on the phone with, a computer or a living person. Even now, you can see amusing robot dwarfs meeting passengers at the entrance to the airport, communicating with them, and escorting them to the desired terminal. We immediately understand, however, that these creatures are robots by their appearance, characteristic movements, and the fact that they do not understand jokes. Note, security officials at airports do not understand jokes either, so this is a relative criterion. Now, imagine that somebody built a robot that does not externally differ from a person or a cat and can reproduce oneself. Three-dimensional printers are developing at an even faster pace than computers. They are capable of building parts of high complexity from a large range of materials. If their ability would expand to nano-component manufacturing, the robots would create their own copies in less than 9 months. Perhaps in 3 days. This copy will look like an original, a cat, meow like a cat, play with paper candy wrappers like a cat, and scratch the wallpaper like a cat. And it will produce new cats. So, is this the cat? Is this a life? If you open it with a knife and tweezers, you will expect the same surprise as the heroes of Stanislav Lem's novel Solaris. You will only see mechanical parts. What kind of life is this? This is a robot. So what? Someone would say. It is like a living being on all counts, so it's alive. Artificial, but alive. In order to understand the difference, let us do the following experiment with both objects. Turn off the energy source which powers this living creature, and simultaneously stop providing the normal cat with food. A real cat will soon die. The artificial cat dies as soon as we disconnect it from the outlet or take out the batteries. The latter can be revived as you plug the cord back or insert fresh batteries. But to revive a real cat will be more difficult. No matter what you do, it will not take food. Thus, there is a test stronger than Turing's one. A living organism is something that can die irrevocably. Life and death are two facets of one phenomenon, and they exist inseparably. What is life? This is a question we cannot answer for thousands of years. More than 100 definitions of life were offered by philosophers, biologists, mathematicians, physicists, and none of them are satisfactory. We, ordinary people, can do it without any philosophy. We confidently distinguish Here it is, a live animal, and this is a high-tech toy. And for that, we do not need any definitions. It is very simple. Life is something that can die. In any case, this is the life of the biological organism, but still, can it be that life is just a well-organized computer? Let it not be silicon, let it be graphene or silicene. We will give an answer to this question, having preceded it with a small but important digression into history.